Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to my Robinhood portfolio. As always, hope you guys had a fantastic day of trading today. And again, I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. If you like the content, if you like the video series, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, make sure to hit that bell button to get alerts and updates on all new content posted on the channel. Today I thought I would take a look again at Bitcoin mining hardware, cryptocurrency hardware, focusing again on the S9 ANTMINER and related pieces of equipment with regards to payback period. If you remember from my prior videos, jumping into mining Bitcoin can be quite expensive. You can see here a number of pieces of dedicated hardware to mine these coins. $1,508 for the S9 ANTMINER, the T9 ANTMINER, $1,250, the L3 Plus ANTMINER, $1,644. Quite expensive. It also uses a lot of electricity to mine as well, so you always have to take that into consideration. And then it kind of goes into a payback period here. A nice little algorithm on a website that basically takes into consideration what you pay for the initial equipment, how much you need to pay for electricity to run the equipment, then it times it by the hash rate times the coin price. So basically, how many coins can you make per hour or per day times the value of the coins. That all goes into the algorithm to spit out a payback period. So for example, the S9 ANTMINER, you simply have to run this piece of equipment for 119 days straight to pay back the initial investment. The T9 ANTMINER there, 121 days. So on and so forth. The L3 Plus ANTMINER, 138 days. As we go down the list here, you can see the number of payback period days increases. The ANTMINER R4, 143 days. An earlier version of the top S3 ANTMINER, 229 days. And the discrepancy here is just the price of the hardware. You can see up top there, 1508. On the bottom here, 2900. As we scroll down the list here, you can see the days get quite large here. You have to mine for some of these pieces of equipment the entire year just to pay back the initial investment. So before you pay back that investment, you will essentially be making no money on the piece of equipment. So in kind of analyzing the equipment, I went through and essentially picked out the best piece of equipment here. Again, up top is the S9 ANTMINER here, the best piece of dedicated hardware for Bitcoin. You can see here there's a number of different coins that these machines are dedicated to. The L3 Plus ANTMINER is the script coin, the Litecoin there. There's others for Ethereum and a number of different coins. But I've been following along with the S9 ANTMINER to see how many days you need to use the piece of equipment to pay it back. And also, are those days staying the same? So for example, let's say next week it's 229 days. 10 days have elapsed with regards to how many days you need to run the equipment, but only 7 days have elapsed in real time. So you're essentially losing 3 days. You'll never be able to catch up to that payback period. On the other hand, if that payback period stays the same or decreases, then essentially you could at some point pay back the equipment, and then after that, anything that you make is pure profit. And that's really where you start making your return on investment. So let's just kind of jump into the S9 ANTMINER here and kind of take a look at the payback period. Again, kind of going through the algorithm to update you guys on exactly what goes into determining this payback period. So you can see the current payback period, 119 days. 3 weeks ago, it's 115 days. So you can see here that this is a viable investment strategy. So essentially 4 days have elapsed with regards to the payback period, but over 21 days have elapsed since the last video where there's 115 days of payback period. So you're essentially making up time with mining, and at some point you will be able to pay off this piece of equipment. So it's not going to be 119 days. It'll probably be around 140 or so, but it is possible to pay off the equipment. And again, just kind of going through exactly what we're talking about here. So the S9 ANTMINER, you have the purchase price here, $1,508 in US dollars here. Then it kind of goes through the power here. This is important because of the number of watts used to use the equipment to power the calculations, which are kind of quantified here in gigahash. You can see it's 14,000 gigahash. So this takes into consideration the price of electricity times the wattage, then times this number here, which essentially is how many Bitcoins you can make per hour or per day, times the price of Bitcoin. That kind of gives you an overall cost per day as well as return per day. Hopefully that's in the positive. If it is, this payback period will essentially be somewhere around 119, 120 days or so. If the power goes up, the power cost per day goes up, this number here will increase, the payback period will increase. If the return per day increases, this number here, the payback period will decrease, and vice versa. If this goes down, the payback period goes down. If this goes down, the payback period goes up. So that's kind of how that all works out. And again, this is all kind of configured for you into making this particular payback period. It's kind of nice here because you can actually go through and change these numbers yourself. If you live in an area that has a higher electricity cost, you can go ahead and plug that in. Or maybe your piece of equipment is not essentially running at its specified gigahash. You can also put that in, change that to kind of get a better estimate of exactly how many payback period days you will need. Again, how many days you need to run the equipment 24/7 to pay back the piece of hardware. So looks like it is definitely viable for the S9 ANTMINER. If you're willing to risk $1,508 for the equipment, you also have to buy a power supply for that and then run the equipment. Again, about $4 per day or so. Currently with the S9 ANTMINER, it is possible to make a profit per day. Again, the price of Bitcoin is really going to dictate how much this is here. So if the price of Bitcoin goes down, this is going to go down quite dramatically as well. But right now, very impressed. 3 weeks ago, the payback period was 115 days. Today, it's 119 days. So definitely viable. 5 days has elapsed with regards to the payback period, but 21 days has elapsed in real time. So basically, 21 minus 5, you've made up that many days in mining. And over time, you're going to get that number down to 0. And then when it does get to 0, then you're in the green, basically making a return on investment with the equipment. So I know this gets a little bit complex here. That's why I wanted to pull up these graphics here going into kind of the power here, cost per day, gigahash, return per day. Again, how many coins per day times the price of the particular coin, in this case Bitcoin here, gives you this number. The wattage times the electricity cost will give you the cost per day. This is all configured to get the payback period here at currently 119 days from 115 days. So very, very viable doing this. So yeah, just wanted to talk about the S9 ANTMINER once again. 115 days 3 weeks ago, 119 days today. Again, I'm going to continue following this forward to kind of see if this payback period stays the same or kind of gradually trickles up over time. Hopefully that number of payback period days does not trickle up faster than the number of elapsed days. So yeah, very cool piece of equipment here. And kind of with that, I'll end the video. As always, if you guys enjoy my videos, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Until next video, we'll see you then.